On today's show, the Golden State Warriors just got Steph Curry back after an 11-game absence. How has he looked since returning to the court? Why is Golden State struggling so much on the road? And will Gary Payton II and Andrew Wiggins make it back into the lineup in time for the postseason? All of that and more coming up right here at Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up and welcome to another edition of Locked On NBA, the biggest stories with the local experts. I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, also host of Locked On Rockets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Now, today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Next game, how about Nikola Jokic to have more than 26.5 points? What about Giannis Antetokounmpo to have less than 9.5 rebounds? Or maybe De'Aaron Fox to have more than 6.5 assists? How about Steph Curry to have more than 3.5 three-pointers made? So what is Prize Picks? It's daily fantasy sports, but how does it work? Basically, you pick 2 to 6 players. If they score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 25 times back on your money on any entry that you submit. There's no competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections that are made available. Prize Picks offers projections on any sport that you watch. That's NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL. They've got you covered on all of your action. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. They're safe. They offer incredibly fast withdrawals, currently operational in over 30 states and Canada. So download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON. If you deposit $100, PrizePicks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, PrizePicks will give you $50. Don't forget to enter promo code LOCKEDON and sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. Joining us now is the host of Locked On Warriors, Cyrus, Saatsaz, who you can find wherever you listen to your podcasts and on YouTube, of course, by searching Locked On Warriors. And Cyrus, the much-anticipated return of Steph Curry finally happened for the Warriors. He missed 11 straight games due to the knee injury problems, but he's back in the lineup. And unfortunately for the Warriors, he stepped back into the lineup, and they immediately lost 3 games in a row on a little road trip. They finally picked up a win, though, an at-home overtime dub against the Milwaukee Bucks. So walk me through, how has Steph looked since getting back into the lineup, after coming back from the injury?
He's looked great, in my humble opinion. Steph is one of the very few players who, he misses time, but he rarely shows rust. It's just testament to just his level of talent compared to everyone else. You've seen him miss a lot of games and then come back for the playoffs and just immediately resume the level he was at. And I feel like the same thing happened there. It's just the timing of his return coincided with the Warriors starting a 3-game road trip. And the Warriors have been an absolutely awful team on the road this year. And so even with Steph, they still lost all 3 games of the road swing, and then they come home and sure enough to beat the Bucks. So yeah, but Steph has been playing fantastic.
So, and I'm glad you bring up the road woes, because I believe we talked about this at one point earlier this season too, on this very show. And I kind of chalked it up back then to thinking, okay, beginning of the season, maybe some championship hangover. It hasn't gotten better, Cyrus. And let me throw this at you, because this is so funny to look at. The Warriors might be the 5th seed in the Western Conference. Cool. They are the 3rd worst road record in the entire NBA, tied currently with the Detroit Pistons at 7-26. The only 2 teams worse than the Warriors, the Spurs at 6-27 and the Rockets at 6-28. Shout out to the Rockets, right? So why can't this Warriors team find ways to win on the road?
And they're barely better than the Rockets and the Spurs, right? I mean,
one win better. Yeah,
let's talk, because they're about to go. I mean, they're on a really short homestand right now. They play the Suns tomorrow who don't have Durant, and then I think it's a 5-game swing back on the road, and that's going to tell a lot. I mean, at the end of that 5-game set, the Warriors might not even be in the playoffs. The why of the road woes is it's baffling. There is no conclusive answer to that. There's nothing empirical. My belief is that this team changed a lot from last year to this year when it comes to their bench. They purged every veteran. And they did sign JaMychal Green. They did sign Dante DiVincenzo, but DiVincenzo himself is still pretty young. And then all the rest of the players coming off the bench are rookies or second-year players. Wiseman's gone, so that's all that's left. And, role players struggle on the road. It's just a, common known thing if you follow basketball. And Whereas veterans, it doesn't affect them, especially superstar level players. Role type players, having that home crowd behind you versus having an arena of 15, 20,000 people booing you, that does actually affect these human beings. That's my guess. Because there is no clear cut answer. I mean, they've had a lot of injury issues. Andrew Wiggins is going to miss his 12th game in a row against the Suns, and not having him has been huge in terms of being a detriment. But it's weird. It's weird. And I mean, the Rockets could very well, like in 2 weeks from now, have a better road record than the Warriors. It's crazy.
Look, you could maybe bet on that via our good friends over at FanDuel, but I don't think the smart money would be on the Rockets to win many more games this season, regardless. So, but that's besides the point here. Look, I'm glad you mentioned Andrew Wiggins here because Wiggins is such a key piece of what the Warriors want to try and achieve. He's been missing since February 13th due to a personal issue. Right at one point, Steve Kerr talked about, ideally they'd like to have him rejoin the team at some point this season, but it doesn't look like, well, what is that situation on? Is it ongoing? Is there a hope that he's going to rejoin the team? Is there any update whatsoever on him? And also, Gary Payton II, who is, kind of a key contributor for this Warriors team last year during their championship run, they reacquired him. And he has yet to be able to play a game yet. There was, some optimism that around, I think, this time we would be getting an answer on whether or not he'd be able to get back on the court. But for a guy who's missed so much of this season already, like, how much optimism should there be about his ability to not only get back on the court and start getting some reps in, but get up to, like, game speed, game shape with less than a month to go in the season?
Yeah, it's the Wiggins thing is mind blowing. I just did, I do another show besides Locked On Warriors, and that's the Rick Barry show. And I just did an episode with Rick, and I asked him if he'd ever seen anything like this in his, 50 plus years being involved in basketball or probably closer to 60. And he said no, he never seen anything like this. Kyrie Irving had an absence of a couple weeks 2-3 years ago that had some similarities to this, but not the level of mystery. I have heard, and I don't know if this has been reported or not, but I've heard that the issue doesn't necessarily involve him directly, and that it's more to do with someone that he knows. Now, what that means is anyone's guess. It is crazy, and again, it's a secret. The Warriors have kept this in house. Wiggins is a very private person. The players seem to have an indication of what's going on. So do the coaches, but no one knows. It's just a fascinating mystery that still is a mystery. Now Myers and Kerr have both indicated that Wiggins will be back, and that this isn't going to be a long-term thing, although it feels like it's already been pretty long. I mean, it's been like a month. So we'll see. I wish I can give you more answers. Honestly, what I told you is probably more than what anyone else has said, but even that's still a massive mystery. I still don't know really. I don't think anyone knows really outside the organization what's going on with them. It's crazy.
And then on Gary Payton, I mean, at this point,
yeah. That's another mystery. I mean, what's crazy to me, and you tell me if this is crazy to you. I mean, you're more partial about this than I would be. I mean, if Gary Payton II was still with Portland, I mean, he's apparently still playing. And, and then he goes to the Warriors, and now it's like he's got this massive, abdominal injury, and we have no idea when we're going to see him again. The Warriors said they were going to reevaluate him in a month, and that's when they first acquired him in the trade. So that date's coming up soon, but the team has not given specifics in terms of what's going on with that injury. So a lot of us are in the dark about his future. The indications is that he'll be ready to go by the playoffs. What that means, I have no idea. The Warriors have really been shrouding this in terms of ambiguity. So we don't know much about that, but all indications are best case scenario. They're both back by the playoffs. That could very easily happen. That's what they've hinted at, but zero specifics from the Warriors. And so far, no sources from anyone indicating more.
So then Cyrus, I mean, they've had the issues on the road. They've had the inconsistency with the lineups, like all this. I mean, if you're a Warriors fan, like how confident or concerned should you maybe be that this Warriors team feels so drastically different from the one that won the title last year, and that there might not be this ability to just flip the switch, so to speak, once you make it to the playoffs? Because I feel like maybe that's what a lot of Warriors fans are banking on at this point.
Well, and that's what Steve Kerr is banking on. Steve Kerr on more than one occasion has said that confidently that he still thinks this team is going to repeat as world champions. That's his belief that this team's just going to flip a switch like that. There is a thought that when a team has done what they've done in terms of postseason success time and time and again, and they definitely are mentally aware and self-aware of the amount of energy that it takes to get through the 2+ months of the postseason. I mean, there's about to be a whole new season coming up, but you still have to make the playoffs. The thinking among the fan base, and I think the thinking among the organization as well, is that they're very cognizant of the fact that they're a horrible road team, one of the worst road teams in the NBA, and that's a huge issue. There are numerous reasons behind that, none of which are specific, and none of which are certain. It's just a myriad of things, but there's really no one else, at least in the Western Conference, that has stepped up and has kind of emerged as a team that really poses a threat to the Warriors. Certainly. I mean, I know you can argue the Nuggets; they're the number one seed, but look, when these two teams played last year, the Warriors didn't have much difficulty beating the Nuggets in 5 games. I know they were a different team with Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. and a great bench, but in the Warriors' mind, that doesn't matter. In their minds, when Steph, Clay, and Dre are together and healthy, they've never lost. So they do have that confidence. I've said repeatedly, this team has like some remnants, some similarities to your mid 90s Rockets, the second championship team who finished the regular season as the 6th seed. And they just kind of sleptwalked through the regular season as well. And they just kind of stepped it up when the postseason started. But again, being a 6th seed requires winning road games. You're not going to have home court for any round, and they can't win road games right now. So they're, on one hand, it's like everyone's very well aware of just how bad this team looks. But on the other hand, it's just there's no one else that has really stepped up that really gives a lot of a concern to this fan base. So there's a lot of confidence in the fan base and the organization that despite all the bad stuff, that they can still magically turn it around. Now, you asked me how they feel, so I'm just telling you how they feel. I'm not necessarily feeling that way, but that the confidence is there. And in all honesty, Jackson, would you be surprised if the Warriors repeated as world champs despite all this? And if or would you be? I'm curious.
I don't know if I would be, because I think there's a valid argument there. Now, whether that confidence is misplaced, right? Just the idea you've got Steph, Clay, Dre, they've done it when they've been healthy. Why would you doubt that? I mean, maybe because talent level in the West is looking good. Maybe the Nuggets are that, a different team this year. There's a lot of reasons to maybe have some doubt, but at the same time, that trio has proven themselves time and time again, over and over again. So why would you doubt it, right? At this point, exactly. maybe they do have a bit of a right to be able to say, you know what, let us just walk into the postseason and then judge us on what we do.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll tell you this though. I really don't know what the outside perspective is on the Warriors. I hear like the national media talking about them sometimes, and my thought sometimes is, wow, like it's even for people who are insiders covering this team, we have no idea what's going on. Like this season has just been a massive shrug, just a massive nonsensical, non-directional path. And I'm personally very curious to see what the end result is. But there's a lot of craziness going on now. It's important to note though, last year, Steph, Dre, and Clay played a total of 11 minutes together in the regular season before the playoffs started, and that did not affect them. So we see Andre Iguodala is playing now, and he's getting back into the rotation. He's had more rust than Steph, but he's playing. They're giving him real minutes again, and it's crazy. I'm looking forward to the postseason. I'll leave it at that.
Should the defending champion Warriors still be feared out west? Will Wiggins and Payton rejoin the team in time for the postseason? Of course, you'll have us covered for all that and more over at Locked On Warriors. Cyrus, I appreciate you stopping by Locked On NBA with me.
Anytime, man. Thank you.